Hello everybody, this is Toys R Us, and what I'd like to do right now is just give you a very quick intro on the interview that you're about to watch. So yes, I sat down very recently with fellow collector Vaults of Iacon, and he interviewed me about my collection, about my toys, about my childhood and things like that, and I enjoyed it so much. It was a great opportunity. It's something that I've not done in a couple of years, to be honest, so I thought it'd be just as a good opportunity to put on this channel, because I'm still getting asked, which I don't mind of course, lots of questions on what was your first toy, what was your favourites, etc. Hopefully you'll find all the answers to all the questions that you want to know inside this video. Of course, if there's any more, please, don't hesitate to ask. But I just think it's a great opportunity for old and new viewers to just learn a little bit about myself, about the channel, how it started off, and indeed the toys, and just a great excuse to sit down and watch two chaps talk very passionately about the toys that we love, and that we've grown up with. So hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Obviously, take care.
Welcome to the Collector's Archive. I am the Vault Keeper. Identify.
Russell.
Identity confirmed. Access granted. Switching to human interface.
Right. Hi there, Russ. How are you doing?
I'm all right, Ed. How you doing?
Yeah, great. Thank you. I mean, thank you very much for agreeing to do this. It's always good to talk to fellow collectors, about what they collect and, what they've got in the collections. But, as you may be aware of, what I'm trying to do with this is to, get a collector's perspective on their experience with collecting. So, yeah, I just really appreciate you doing it.
No problem. It'll be fun.
Yeah. So what I think I'll do is, if we want to start off, if you just want to take a brief moment to just introduce yourself, for the people out there that may not be familiar with you.
No problem. I'm not that well known, I don't think, anyway. So my real name is Russell. So it would have been, it was an obvious choice to call my YouTube channel Toys R Us, especially because in the UK it hasn't really been around in a few years. Although I believe we might be getting a new one back this year, so I might have to change my moniker soon. But for now, it's definitely staying as Toys R Us. Yeah, so I started my YouTube nearly 3 years ago. Well, I say started nearly 3 years ago. I signed up for YouTube 3 years and a month ago, but I didn't start doing videos properly until March sort of time. So yeah, I'm very close to the 3-year mark. It started off as a bit of fun during lockdown, because obviously that's what we were in. And it was more of just a showcase, just pretty much show my figures. And then since then, it's gone from just doing a random video here and there to pretty much a review every day. I like to do news things. I like to be fair, like me and Ed were just on a chat off air, and I'm the same as him. I just love everything about it. I've got no issues doing it. I always look tired. I always work. I've got a full-time job. I've got 3 kids, and I always still manage to find time to do videos purely because I just love doing them. So it's one of them things that I've always said that it's never been a chore. So yeah, that's probably why I keep doing it as well, because I love it.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I mean, I'm the same. I mean, being self-employed, working from home, doing what I need to do, and then just those spare few minutes that you have, just trying to do something here and there. I mean, myself, I'm just starting with the video, my video journey, if you will. It's also been the photography side and a bit of blogging and written reviews, so it's just now easing myself into that, taking these short moments to try and do some video content along with the photography. But yeah, no, I mean, the stuff you do, I mean, I try and watch it where I can, and
there's too much. I appreciate. Like I say to people, but I think that's the beauty of it as well. I don't expect everybody to watch everything purely because I realize how much I'm doing at the same time. But I think because that my collection at the time was so vast, and it sort of still is now, that it's good that people can dip in and out. I mean, obviously primarily, and my main love and the main reason why I'm into any of this is because I was lucky enough to be a child when Generation 1 came out. So Generation 1 is the focal point. It's the soul of it, shall we say. Of course, the Generations toy lines are basically just updated versions of them, so they're a no-brainer for me. Movies, I've got a sort of a love-hate relationship with them, because I don't mind the movies. I'm not I'm not one of these anti-Bayverse people. No. They're watchable. I've just always thought that perhaps they could be a bit better. That's all. But as far as the film goes, I can watch it. Some of the toys are amazing. Some of them are so clever. But yeah, I try. And again, now I'm moving on to Legends and moving on to third party. And the reason for that is because of the channel, to be honest. So I found my collecting journey, funnily enough, is actually changing. But there's the soul, and that's probably because I completed one of my goals, which I think is going to be a question a bit later on, so I won't go into that too much. But yeah, it's all around G1 anyway.
It is a great journey, and I think that's what I want to do with these videos, is to try and bring that journey of the individual collector to other people, you know. So there's some connection, and they might say, "Oh yeah," you know, they might see something in themselves in that story. So I think, if you don't mind, we'll kick it off then, yeah. If that's okay. So I'm going to hit you with the first one. So the first one is the toys you had as a kid.
As in, which ones did I have, or which one?
I mean, so generally speaking, so like as a kid, what were the toys that kind of like, you know, that Russell played with, you know, on the rug in front of the fire, you know,
literally
while watching telly?
So I was 44 2 days ago. Depends when this is going to be aired. Anyway, I was 44 on the 9th of March, which meant that I was lucky enough to be 5 in 1984, and I was one of them lucky kids. I mean, I've told this story in a couple of videos, and I owe my mum a lot, bless her. And this is obviously before the internet. This is before everything. And she, funnily enough, she drove up to Sheffield from Telford, which is not too far from you.
No, it's not. No,
it's to because she found on the Yellow Pages, which for those of you who don't know, it's pre-internet, whatever. It was a phone book full of directory of everything in it, and she went, and my mum went through. She went everything local, everything Birmingham, everything Wolverhampton, anything within the vicinity. Literally going through every single toy shop that was listed, from the A to Z. So by the time she got to S, which is Sheffield, she'd rang so many toy shops.
Right.
And luckily enough, there was an Optimus Prime in there. So she drove. I mean, she's told me this. I think it's amazing. Anyway, and so she drove to get me that for Christmas, which is amazing. So I was lucky enough to have them. So it was generation one, and it really was for so long. And it's quite funny because a bit like I am now, I'm a little bit blinkered or a little bit tunnel vision. Like I love Star Wars. I watch Star Wars. I think Mandalorian's the best thing I've ever seen at the moment. It's amazing. Same as the Avengers and Marvel. I love it, but I'm not tempted in any way to collect it. I'm really. So when I was a child, my friends had Star Wars, and I would say I had a couple of Masters of the Universe, but that's just because they were brought to me. And again, when you're 5, 6, you don't want to be rude, do you? So
no.
So I had a few of them, and like literally, it took me right through. I think it even took me past Turtles. It took me into the early 90s, and it took me right up to when computer games sort of were really breaking. So, like, as silly as it sounds, and that's what's really funny, I suppose, with regards to this. Like, my knowledge of the toys is probably way better than my knowledge of the cartoons because I watched them sporadically. The comics I read only once, but then I would have sold them all. And then, as I say, I had a huge gap. But like I say, as a kid, it was just all about the toys, and that's literally what it was. And I don't honestly remember, and I've got a pretty good memory of my childhood from them key years, from being 5 to about 12, of being anything but Transformers. And I was brought a few things. I had a radio controlled Bigfoot car one Christmas. I know we had a few things, and you know, you as a lad, you still like football and whatever. But toys wise, I was really blinkered with them, as I say, right up to remember still getting Micromasters in 1990 for Christmas. So I mean, I'm talking a good solid 5 years of my childhood was Transformers, which is with the main years. And as I say, my friends had Star Wars, my friends had Turtles, my friends had whatever else, and I was just like, not bothered, got me Transformers.
Yeah. So you're there, you've got your Optimus Prime, you're on your rug, you're playing. What cartoons are you watching? What cartoons did you gravitate to as a kid?
It's weird because I've got loads of real good memories of watching cartoons, but again, I think some of the cartoons that I got didn't have toys. Although saying that, right, so let's start off with some of the earlier ones. Obviously, and I'm not going to say Transformers again. We don't need to. I remember all these mental ones like Ulysses, Jason the Wheeled Warriors, Mysterious Cities of Gold, Dungeons and Dragons, obviously. Now, to my knowledge, none of them actually had toys anyway, so that was pretty good. No. I used to love Ulysses and Jason the Wheeled Warriors. And then as the only ones I can actually remember that I started watching cartoons that did have toys were, of course, obviously He-Man was there. I watched a bit of He-Man, but I don't remember watching too much of it. I remember Bucky O'Hare, but obviously I think that was early 90s. So that's when I was sort of like getting out of it as well. But yeah, it was them sort of things. But I loved like the Harry, how do you pronounce his surname? Harryhausen, whatever it is, the
Ray Harryhausen.
Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah, the stop motion.
Absolutely loved them as a kid.
Yeah.
Jason the Argonauts, Jack the Giant Killer, all the Voyages of Sinbad's.
Yeah.
That's what all of them. I absolutely loved them as well. So I mean,
what would you say was your favourite one then? Your favourite cartoon.
I've just remembered I used to love watching X-Men as well, obviously, because everybody was watching. And that was great. Favourite cartoon. I love Dungeons and Dragons. I really did like Dungeons and Dragons. I've probably got to say that. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
I literally remember being, giddy, trying to get home from school as fast as you can to watch that one. So I really do. Yeah.
No, it was a good cartoon. Yeah, I used to like that one. I'm just trying to think that would have been what it on BBC? What it with
it was in the broom cupboard.
The broom cupboard. Philip Schofield.
Or Andy Peters. I think it might have been. I think it might have overlapped. I think it kept going, but yeah, it definitely was the broom cupboard with them pair. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, but now we're getting toys of the
new ones. Yeah, new ones. I get obviously the Hasbro emails, and I'm like, I appreciate them. I like them, but I'm like,
it's just something else. Just something else. You don't need cluttering up. We'll move on then. So, you may have hinted to this one already, anyway. But what would you say then was your favourite toy as a kid?
It's quite weird because as soon as I say this, I think a lot of people do know this, but my favourite is Scorponok. Absolutely, hands down.
Yeah.
And again, that was another Christmas present. That would have been Christmas '87. Right. And I just everything. Just remember playing with it so much. I think that, and as I say, because I was quite lucky in the way that I had quite a lot of Transformers, but I wasn't lucky in as if I was spoiled. And you know what? We've always had a small family. Like my dad's parents were dead by the time I was born, so I had no grandparents from him.
Right.
And my mum's mum, she passed away unfortunately when I was about 4. So I didn't have any grandparents. So I wasn't spoiled at all, just a normal grown-up kid. But I did have a lot of Transformers. But the reason is because exactly what I just said, because that's all I was really into.
Yeah.
So you're talking a good solid 5, 6, 7 years of Christmas and birthdays. And again, when you get to the sort of age when you get what you want, I'm not going to give too much away because there's everybody else, there's young viewers who watch my channel, etc. But when you get to some Christmases and you can pretty much pick what you want, all I would pick was Transformers. Yeah. So I was really lucky to end up with quite a few. But yeah, Scorponok, I absolutely wanted that so bad, and then just completely everything about it. Obviously, the fact that it was a robot, the base mode. I probably played the base mode so much just for that reason. So it's unbelievably, even though I was lucky enough to have Optimus, Scorponok's the one that always rings true to me as well as my fondest memories. And funnily enough, it's one of the first ones that I really wanted to buy back. When I started collecting again, I was like, I want Scorponok. You know what I mean? Everyone's like, I want Primer, I want this.
Yeah.
I want Scorponok. And that's what I really remember. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So, I think you've already answered this one. This is about when the conversation flows free like this.
That's the thing, but that's what ends up with doing that. So I've done a few of these before, and you just end up answering them all anyway. But it's
cool. It's all good. But so you've mentioned your favourite one. I mean, it might not be a favourite one, but is there a specific toy you had as a kid that you miss the most that maybe you don't have now?
Not now, because again, I'm really quite lucky into where my collection's taking me. But if you want to hear me talk about perhaps another couple of toys as well, the ones that another one that I remember really, really vividly playing with a lot were. Now I always mess these names up because I've got so intertwined with the Japanese continuity that I call them by their Japanese names, which is Buster and Hydra, which is obviously it was Dread, Wing, and Darkwing, wasn't it? Right. For the Hasbro versions, it wasn't it? I'm sure it was. Because I'd
have to Google.
It's them too, and again I was looking. I think I had them for my birthday. I think I had because they were the year later, so they were 88 because they were the Power Masters, weren't they? Power Masters in the UK, God Masters in the one. So, and the reason why I like them so much is because not only were they obviously you got the little Nebulons or I'm going to pretend we're talking Hasbro now, so I'm going to use so they were Nebulons and. They were Power Masters, so they were engines, so similar sort of thing to the Headmasters. But not only you could combine the jets as well. Simply combine the jets, and I just did that to death. Just remember, can remember sitting on an armchair from like before we moved, just sitting there to like with one of them on one arm, one of them on the other arm, and then just play with that one, transform that one, put him down, actually get them both together, and then just literally for ages. Then I've got good memories of them pair as well.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. It's just clicked because I remember with the Marvel UK comics, he took over the letters page, Dreadwing. I think it was something they were called Dread Tidings, I think, or something
they were
like
exactly that. Yeah, because the thing is, because it's Dreadwing and Darkwing, and they combine to make Dark Wings, I think. But like obviously, it's easier in the Japanese continuity. It's Buster Hydra, and they make Dark Wings. That's so much easier.
Well, we might touch on that a bit later on. So, just moving on a little bit then.
There you go.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's the Japanese one.
But that's they're not the UK colours, are they?
No, that's the Takara ones.
Yeah.
Carry on then.
No worries. So, can you remember what your last toy or last figure was? Before you sort of like started moving on, like other interests or adulting or like you grew up basically, before.
I don't know if I can remember the last one, but I can definitely remember the one that I was probably most disappointed in, and it's quite funny because I really like it now. And it's Skullgrin. It's Skullgrin because purely I didn't get, or I didn't really like, and I think as most kids, and I think as most collectors do, look at them as a backward step. And let's be honest, they're a huge backward step compared to the original Diaclone cars or the 84, 85 cars. You've just got this little robot inside that you're literally just folding in half. Yeah. And that's his transformation. That's pretty much what you're bringing arms around the side or whatever. And I remember getting Skullgrin. And I think because he was probably the least robotic, like, if you know what I mean. Like, I know I had a big scorpion or whatever, but like he was literally just like sort of a monster. And then I just thought it maybe because obviously my mind and it was a bit too basic, and I just didn't really like it, and I didn't really get the concept. I knew what the concept, obviously I knew they were supposed to be pretending, but it made sense for the Autobots because they were humans in suits, whereas the Decepticons pretending was Skullgrin, Submaraude, and I'm trying to think of the other. But anyway, they don't pretend. If they started to walk down the street, or if they appeared anywhere, then they'd stand out, they'd stick out, like a sore thumb. So I liked the Micro Machine. I keep calling them Micro Machines. I mean Micromasters. I had a few of them. I had the playsets. I didn't mind them. Yeah. But I think it probably was. Yeah, I think it was probably some of the Pretenders. For Transformers, but for actual last toys that I brought, they probably were the same actually, because as silly as it sounds, because like I said, I remember selling them all in Summer Fate 1992 to buy Arnold Schwarzenegger videos and games for me Mega Drive. Well, Master System as it was in 92, sorry.
Yeah. What was it that started collecting again then? What was the process behind that? When that happened?
It's as I say, it was about turn of the century, and I just think that by that time, I wanted an Optimus Prime again. I wanted a few things, just because again, I don't know what I'd seen. I don't know what I'd seen that made me really want it, and I just wanted to buy a few. So we're talking about 2000. Maybe it was MP1. Was MP1 2001? I can't remember. I think I'd seen.
It was 2003, was it? Was it 2003?
No, it wasn't. Yeah, but I think you're right now. You've said that. Yeah, of course it was because they did the Hasbro version in 2004, didn't they? Yeah. But I don't know what it was. I don't know what I'd seen. I can't remember what it was. Just remembered. I know what it was. I was talking with somebody at work about the cartoon movie, and while we were at work on nights at the same time, we just went on eBay and we just bought like a couple, and it was literally that's it. It was just a little flutter, just a couple of ones just to keep them there. And then that's it. It was only a couple I brought for around about that time, and then it was 2004 when I went absolutely nuts because that's when I saw. I didn't know it was MP1, but because that's when they did the commemorative reissues, didn't they, in Toys R Us and that. Was that too bad?
It probably was around about that time, maybe not long after. I'm just going by.
I'm sure it was because of the 20-year anniversary and all that sort of thing. I'm sure.
Yeah,
it was.
I can remember picking up the 2002 New Year special Optimus Prime, You know, the one with the mouse mat and the
Yeah.
action master in there.
That-
Prior to that, I can remember I picked up the JAFCON ones, the Optimus Prime, and then the Black Optimus Prime, and that.
Yeah.
So I think the commemoratives probably didn't. It wasn't probably much long after that they started turning up. Yeah.
I think it was that again, because funny enough, I was buying Star Wars as an adult at that time. So, and we did have Toys R Us at that time, and we did have a Toys R Us. I was in Toys R Us, and I saw the Transformers commemorative ones, and it's quite weird because I mean it's the Autobot cars and all that, but it's not the ones that I wanted, which is saying I wanted Scorpion Ox, I wanted your Dreadwing, Darkwing, and all that. So that's what made me think, right, I'm going to go home and I'm going to get the ones that I really want.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much what I started to do, and it escalated to a ridiculous nth degree from there because what happens is that you first and foremost, this is the way that my brain works anyway, but my brain was like, right, let's get the ones we had which we really enjoyed, brilliant. Let's get the ones that we never had, parents couldn't afford, etc.
Yeah.
So then that's it, so we get them, so we start to get like, because some of the combiners were available in the UK, but I had like a bit of it. I think the only one I had properly complete was Menasor, and I think the rest of them were like complete hybrids of Scramble City, whatever they were, or whatever you do. So then I started with them, and I'm sorry this is going to be a bit of a long answer, but
no.
Then of course it goes to what about the ones that we couldn't get in the UK? So if anybody's watching this outside the UK, we used to have this thing called the Curse of the UK. At the moment, yes, we are very, very lucky with Smiths and the fact that they are stocking everything. We are very lucky, but this was not the case, and it hasn't been the case from ever. As we just discussed at the beginning, we didn't get a Jason the Wheel Warriors toy line.
No.
We didn't even really get any decent toys until Smiths, I think, in all honesty, because Toys R Us was useless at the time. But yeah, so it was awful. So we didn't get Sweep, we didn't get Blaster, we didn't get Blaster's cassettes, we didn't get any of the clones, we didn't get Devastator the first time round. We only got Devastator, I find out after, as Chinese, when they came back over in the 90s, when I'd sort of moved on. We definitely didn't get any of the Predacons. We didn't get Perceptor, we didn't get the deluxe Insecticons or the deluxe Autobots. I mean, the list's huge. I'm not going to bore everybody with it because some people might know it, or some people might be, not that thing again. So
no, it's all good. It's all good info.
That's it. So I got all them. And then the funny sort of story is this: is what I was doing is I was buying collections, and I suppose what most people do. I brought a collection, you sell a few off, you keep the ones you want, and it was just. And as crazy as this sounds now, and I say this to a lot of people and they just look at me in disbelief, this is probably 95% paid for by itself. Everything that's around me, it's that. It's buy a collection, sell some on, buy a collection, sell some on, keep the ones I want. Because the silly joke is that I must have brought the Action Masters unwillingly about 5 or 6 times because they just came as part of a collection and I sold them. And then when I actually wanted them, I was like, oh man, look at the price of them now. And I mean, they were still only 10 quid then, but I was selling them for 2. And then this was the game changer for me. Was I wanted to see where I was in the collecting. So I got one of them collection books, and I've shown it loads of times, and unfortunately it's not local here, but it's on one of my videos. I'm sure you'll have seen it. It's the Complete Takara Guide. And then you're going through that, and then you get halfway through it, and then you're like, what are these? Which is of course, so this is the Takara ones, and then that's where it all went nuts from there. And I think that's pretty much answered your collecting question, because I ended up being unwillingly a bit of a completionist, because again at the time, and I make jokes as well, I used to like anything from my Transformers collection is 2015 BC, which is before children, which is when I had a bit of a disposable income. And I could just buy a few things. My profession's a PT, so I'm not a big drinker. I've never smoked. I'm not whiter than white, but I don't waste my money on beer and cigarettes. I never have. So mine was plastic. So I was really lucky with the fact that I was just buying. And again, I could buy most of the stuff, all of the rarer G1 stuff, at a price where you wouldn't have to do what I've had to do recently. Recently, some of the other stuff I've had to do payment plans with people, because there's no way on this planet that I could afford it or justify it. And it sounds really silly because I'm still paying the same price, but in my head, if I thought I've just paid X amount for that in one go, it'd make me a bit ill. But because I'm paying a little bit, as silly as it sounds, I don't notice it as much. So and in a way, I can sort of justify it, and I'm looking at it more as that, as like, this is my treat. It's something that I've
Yeah.
worked for. It's something I'm saving for, and yeah, I'm going to get it. So that's the way that I've looked at it for the last few years. But yeah, most of this is through buying and selling.
Yeah. No. So yeah. So again, your answers are so good. You've already answered this, and the follow up question to that, about getting back into collecting was going to be, what was the figure that brought you back to collecting? The one that you picked up.
I think it probably was. I think, as I say, as silly as it sounds, although I've said it was Scorponok, I think he ended up just picking up an Optimus Prime as you do by fluke. But I think that's because when I was looking at the time, I just couldn't really find one.
So I mean, I can see, we can see it on the camera behind, the people have seen the wealth of stuff that you have. I mean, I call myself the vaults of Iacon, but I think, I think you're more of the vaults of Iacon than what I am with the amount of stuff you've got there. But of all the stuff you've got, what's your favourite piece that you have at the moment?
See, that this is really difficult, and I have to give, to be honest, two answers, because I'm dead lucky that I managed to reacquire my original Optimus Prime, funnily enough,
Right,
from doing these sort of channels. So at first, when I was starting out, I literally used to spam Facebook I think I'm a member of about 92 Facebook groups, Transformer groups, because I typed in every single thing that you could. I mean, it didn't do me any good anyway. I just kept getting banned for posting too much stuff. Well, I did literally. And then obviously when you get your analytics on YouTube, you can see where the traffic source, and people weren't really watching them anyhow. But however, luckily enough, someone who lives relatively local still, an old friend of mine, I've not seen him since school, and he remembered vividly buying these off me.
right.
And yeah, he had loads. I've got the bag upstairs, and I did my own little video on it as well. And he just messaged me out the blue. He says, "I'm sure I've got your Transformers here.
Right.
Do you want to meet him?" So I went and met up with him, and literally, I used to play with him pretty much every day in our childhood and stuff. And when I moved on, he didn't move on just as fast. And then his house wasn't too far from mine, and he just ended up putting him in the loft. And then his personal circumstances changed, and he ended up going back to his mum's. This was only maybe not last year, maybe the year before. Now I'm saying this, I can't remember. And he ended up moving back in with his mom, and then he went up in the loft and he found a load of Transformers, and loads of them were mine. So I'm really lucky that I've actually got my original Optimus Prime back, which is cool.
Right.
So that's one. Obviously, that's got to be top of the list.
Yeah.
And then I suppose one of the ones is, it's not here, but the box is up behind me, but you won't be able to see it. And it's not because it's expensive. It's not my most expensive one. It's not cheap either, but it's not about the value. It's when I was going through them books, and the one I'm on about, and you see the Japanese one, and I saw these 3 Japanese figures. This is a big clue straight away. A bit of a guessing game. I like to do a bit of a guessing game. And I saw them, and this is why I love the Japanese Transformer figures so much, because they make everything into a play set. They make everything so fun. So I saw these 3 robots that all had alternate modes, that then also had base modes that you could join together. Then they all had an alternate mode that you could then combine and join together.
Right.
And the main leader of it was motorized. Do you know who it is? Do you know who it is?
Keep going.
Okay.
If you stop an ease,
okay, yeah. So you were at it, and it came out in 1990. So I definitely didn't see it at all. It's Diatlas. It's big powered. It's the gift set. Big powered.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So as I say, so you saw that there they are. There's 3 robots. There's 3 alternate modes.
Yeah.
They've all got Micromasters to play with. You can actually combine all of them together to be a big base. You can then combine them all to make. And I've done it once. It's like this big.
Yeah. Does it also hook up to Star Convoy as well? Because it's Star Convoy motorized as well.
That's it. You can make this Battlestars platform. They all connect. They all build up. And even like when I looked at it and I really wanted it, they were a bit more than what I could afford. So we're talking in the teens ish for the Japanese stuff. And then it's Chuck Liu on Artfire, bless him. Like I owned it. I was like, look, I really want that, and he now does this with lots of people. He does payment plans. So he allowed me to get that. It's probably because I never thought I'd ever own it, and I just thought it was way out of my league. I'm never going to get that. Not unless I sell a load of stuff, which I didn't want to do, because I was at the point now where I've got my stuff and I don't want to sell anything to get them. I want to keep that as well. So yeah, one of my newer ones is definitely the big powered gift set. And again,
Right.
it's so good. I'm lucky enough that it didn't break, because sometimes I break my figures, which is
Right.
awful. And I managed to get a good, play out of them whilst making the videos as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking at your collection and the things that you do have, is there anything that you'd still like to get? Is there something that, is the gaps here and there, or things that you still want?
There is a few gaps, and I think it's just, yeah, it's nice to still have something that to want to be able to go for.
Yeah.
And again, I'm lucky enough that I have got what I've got. I managed to complete it all. So anything that I'm after that's like it's, in fact, I wouldn't even know if it would be classed as officially Transformer related. In fact, no, I'll come back to that in a minute. I definitely want the Blue Guardian robot e-hobby, and I
Yeah.
also got the Khan, and I want Fire Guts Jinrai. And again, they're ones that me and you've discussed.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Blue Magnus cab that we should have brought yonks ago. And I can remember being on Joust. And for people who don't know what Joust is Japan's equivalent to eBay, basically. And that's where I managed to find half of this stuff as well.
Yeah.
Thinking, nah, I'm just going to buy G1. I'm just going to buy G1.
Yeah.
And then now I look back, and I suppose they're my big three of newer figures. If you want to say newer figures, G1 figures, it would have to be some of these crazy South American mini box, because I love them. That's the thing I'm on at the moment now. But the problem is they are extortionate.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, they are. Yeah. There's some crazy colours, and they're really nice looking, but yeah, it's just the prices.
Real cars.
Pardon? What's that? Sorry.
Cost as much as real cars. It's a
joke.
joke.
Yeah. Some of them do. Yeah. Some of them do. It's the crazy prices, but they do look real nice, and the variations in them are nice as well. So moving on from that, then, I mean, you may already have this, but is there? What's your grail item? And is your grail item? I mean, it's not always a term I like to use, is that?
No,
but I think sometimes you have to use it, because I think for a lot of collectors like ourselves, I think there is that one piece that we anchor after, So is that grail item then? Is that something you have? And if it isn't, what is it? And have you still to try and get it?
I think that's a good question. I think apart from the ones which I just mentioned, the ones that I really want, and I'm just looking again at my Japanese shelves, and it would probably be, I don't know, it'd be either one of the two, because I've got them, but they're not complete. So it'd probably be to complete them, or it would either be Minerva or Minelba, however you want to refer to her as, or of course Artfire. I'm lucky enough that I've got them, but they're not complete. So perhaps them two. But I think the problem I've got with them again is exactly the same as everything else, that they've just gone daft now at the moment as well. I did want to go at one point for getting a boxed, or at least a sealed, obviously if it was on card, a sealed example of all G1 as well. But with the room change, with how I've moved, it's a physical impossibility. I've got a good friend of mine in America who can pretty much do it, but anybody who knows the difference between American and UK houses is that they're way bigger. They're just a lot. They're just like, they're not a little bit bigger. They're like 2, 3, 4 times the size. And again, I'm aware of this, and I'm very grateful and very thankful. And I'm one of the massive exceptions from the norm. In the UK, you don't get people who have a room for toys. You just don't get it. So I'm very, very lucky, and I appreciate that and I accept that. So, and even in this room, it's big enough to house what I've got. But like the movie sort of stuff, or some of the figures and that it's not going to be an eventuality. But I suppose if I would like to get a boxed G1 figure, do you know what it would have to be? It'd probably be Darkwing, because as stupid as it sounds, I've got about 4 of them loose, because I've got one for robot, one for alternate, one for combined, and 3 of the Japanese versions. But I haven't actually got a Hasbro boxed Darkwing. So there you go. That could be that. And again, it's nice to have, even though we've just agreed that we don't perhaps like the name or the term Grail, but it's nice to have something that's attainable at the same time. That's a better way to word it, because otherwise, some people, as you say, I could have said the VSX gift set in Japan. which is obviously the original Optimus Prime and Megatron one. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yes, yeah.
I've seen 2 of them in my lifetime. They went on eBay. They lasted no more than 30 minutes because as soon as it went on, somebody put a message on and it was sold as a bite now for 20 grand. I'm never seeing one of them sets. I'm never seeing one of them sets. And I've come to terms with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. I'm not even going to, even if somebody says, oh, you can have one on a payment plan, I am not doing 20 grand on a payment plan. I'll have been retired 15 years by the time I can afford to pay that.
Yeah,
so yes, it's nice to have an attainable grail. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're moving on from that, and I know you mentioned a bit briefly when you were talking earlier, but what other than the Transformers thing and that, what are your other interests then? You know, is there any other collecting interests or anything outside of your main collection that interests you, that you follow?
I mean, again, for collecting purposes, and I say this jokingly and as well and half-heartedly, thankfully, no, there's nothing.
Right.
I appreciate other good toys.
Mm.
I'm lucky that I've got a son who's 7 now, so if there's anything out there, I can test it on him or I can play with him, shall we say. But no, again, you mentioned G.I. Joe there. That's something that I completely just, I don't know why I just didn't. And I know I get a lot of flack with this, and because I admit it every time, I had zero interest. Haven't watched a cartoon episode.
No.
The only time I read the comic was when they did the crossover with Marvel, which was 4 issues.
Yeah.
But the rest of the time, it's the B story, and it's the B story, and it is for 2 years. But I just didn't read any of it. But again, yeah, I mean, I love the Marvel films. Again, I just mentioned Mandalorian. I think that's I love Star Wars. I still love Star Wars.
Yeah.
Which is great. I love watching all them. I'm just going to think. I'm just always busy. Family life keeps me busy, which is brilliant as well, because I'm really lucky. I've got a great wife, 3 healthy, beautiful kids.
Yeah.
They keep me busy. And, you know, some of them are interested in this. And it's really weird because everybody always says, oh, you'll have to lock it. You'll have to lock it. And I panicked. I thought I'm going to have to. But Riley, sometimes they come in. They don't even come in. They don't even... It's not because it's like I'll scold them or anything like that. They just know. They just know it's Daddy's room, and like they like. Well, I want it, but when they want to come in, they say, "Daddy, can we come in your room with you?" And then we'll come in, and then we'll just sit there, and then we'll either just look and play. So I'm lucky that I've got that. To be fair, with them. So it's a huge part, especially now with the videos and the fact that I do so much with it. That it is just a huge part, and I haven't really got much time or anything else, which is good enough for me because. I haven't got time. I mean, the gym, obviously, I like going to. I'm lucky that I work in a gym, which is what I like to do. So I train, you know, 4 or 5 times a week. But I'm lucky because I'm there. I've got that as a bonus. But...
Right. Well, we're almost near end, Russ. So I suppose this part now is we're closing up now. So it's just if you want to take a couple of minutes just to, you know, I suppose it's pimp yourself, you know.
Okay.
Tell people about, you know, your web presence, your website, or, you know, things like that, you know, promote yourself. And, you know, so I'll hand it over to you.
No problem. I'm nothing special. I'm just little old me. I'm just little old me who's got, as I say, been lucky enough to acquire a vast amount of toys in my adult life when I could afford them before kids. But no, my YouTube channel, I'm lucky enough to have completed all of G1. And I don't just mean the Hasbro, I mean Takara variants. So Headmasters, Master Force, Victory Zone, Operation Combination, all of them, and the European ones. So the Action Master Elites, Rumbler, Slicer, all that. So that was my goals. That was, you know, that was a 20-year long journey of managing to collect them all. So I'm cataloging all them. So hopefully, if you're, let's say, if you're over, well, even if you're not, because I've got loads of younger viewers who love seeing the Generation 1 figures, but I'm pretty sure that I can evoke some nice memories from your childhood with at least one of the videos from my channel, as well as keeping up to date with the newer figures as well. So again, I was saying this earlier, I pretty much cater for everybody, to be honest, because I just love Transformers. I don't care whether they're in a movie. I don't care whether they're 40 years old and the only articulation they've got is that. I'll still review it and I'll still put it on the channel. And as I say, you can all watch it. You can leave me your feedback. And of course, I'll try and bring you some I was going to say hashed up news as fast as I can, which it will literally be me sitting in front of a camera like I'm now with my iPad, but hopefully you'll still appreciate it and enjoy it. But yeah, so that my YouTube is Toys R Us and my Instagram is Toys_R Us. So thank you and I say this and I mean this massively to anybody who's watching this now, that I wouldn't be doing this right now without you. And I know it sounds really cliche and corny and everybody always says, but it's true. It started off as a bit of fun during lockdown, and people started putting, like Simon Transformers UK Collector, put in requests. Can I see this? Have you got that? Can I see this? And it just blew from there. And it's been just the most crazy roller coaster journey for the last 3 years I've ever had. And it's been great, and long may it continue.
So, but right. So yeah, that's it, Russ. That probably brings us to the end, unless there's anything else you want to say, or
I think again, as I say, I think it's been a good opportunity. Even though I've done a few of these, they're always quite different. And the reason, like I said to yourself, I think off air as well, or maybe if it was at the beginning, apologies, but it's also good because, again, as the channel grows, new people jump on board, and it just saves me answering the same questions all the time when people jump on and say, oh, what was your favorite one? So it's good to keep things like this updated and going all the time. So yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks very much for having me.
No, I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm just, it was an idea that I'd had, and I'd sat on it for probably about a good 18 months, maybe more, and I just thought, well, if I'm going to do it, I've got to do it. And I just thought, right. And I'm just overwhelmed by, the positive response it's had and the amount of people that have agreed to do it. So, there's still a lot to do. Hopefully it'll get better and it'll streamline and it'll be a bit more polished. And if it isn't, it isn't. But, it's just main thing is that I hope.
You're talking to a guy who's literally the exact opposite of what you're saying. I've come to learn that as long as it's watchable, or audible, and that's it. That's all that really matters. It doesn't have to. I mean, I don't know. I would love it to be super streamlined and everything, but don't put too much pressure on yourself. You don't need to.
No, thank you, Russ. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you agreeing to do this, and thanks for the chat. And it's time to close it out.
Lovely. No worries. So, take care, everybody.
Yep. All the best. Thank you very much, Russ.
Cheers.
Thank you for accessing the Collector's Archive. To enable return access, please select the like, subscribe, and notification icons. Transmission terminated.